Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the show on myself, Dan Selke of winnerscoming.net, and Cheryl Watson of cultures.com. Talk about all things Game of Thrones, song, inspired genre fiction. Cheryl, how are you doing today?
I'm I'm a lot happier that now that I was able to follow that along. How are you, Dan?
Really well. It's getting a little warmer in Chicago, just a tad. Still raining, but first day of spring. We're out of our crystalline...
Prison?
Yeah, Preston for a while. Like, everything froze, but now it's getting better.
Yeah.
And we've had people come to watch us. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Kenneth, Rodrigo. Hello, Lisa. Shaleta, Lori. Welcome to everybody. And we have some good Game of Thrones news to go over this week. Let's get down to it.
We've got a lot of things to go through.
First, I've got... Whatever. We have some things. I don't know why I corrected you. Yes, we have a lot of things to go through. First, I just got to start with this because I'm excited by this. HBO has announced that they are still staffing up the Game of Thrones prequel with, frankly, another big name. We had Naomi Watts join the cast. We had a whole bunch of, younger up-and-comers. And now we have Miranda Richardson, who, again, this is like something that excites me. I remember Miranda Richardson from, you ever see Spider with... Ralph Fiennes?
No.
Really good movie. She was excellent in that. Oh, no, she was, of course, Rita Skeeter in the Harry Potter movies, where we most may know her from. Just another really kind of solid choice, I think. Someone who is a name, but isn't like a Julia Roberts or like a huge kind of overbearing name. And someone who has a really good history of just excellent acting. Oh, The Crying Game. You ever see that one?
No.
So good. And she's in that. She's an IRA terrorist. She's terrifying.
I've seen her in the Phantom of the Opera.
Also good. The Phantom of the Opera movie. What was it?
Madame Giry.
Madame Giry. So she's a practice actor with a good resume. And just, what do you think of that? What do you think of her joining this kind of pilot?
I think it is a kind of marked contrast to Game of Thrones' initial cast, where there was the one big name, which was Sean Bean. Whereas this is kind of building slightly smaller names, but more of them. This is not, of course, to discount people like Lena Headey, who also had a career before Game of Thrones.
Mark Addy. Stephen Delane, like, they weren't nobodies.
Exactly. But I think, in the grand scope of famousness, like Sean Bean's like here.
Right.
Like Lena Headey and Mark Addy are like here. This is a relative distance, by the way.
Yes.
I'm not a mathematician. And like Miranda Richardson and Naomi Watts are kind of like here.
I'd agree, more or less.
Roughly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm encouraged by who they're choosing. I think these are cool, interesting choices. No one is kind of like the traditional. I keep expecting them to like cast a Sean Bean type, or like like a square-jawed kind of hero type, but they haven't really done it. I'm curious. I'm curious about what kind of show they're making.
Yeah.
Like, whether these two older women leads are like the big draws, and the rest of the cast is basically unknowns, which is great because it's also good. They're not stunt casting, is what it seems like to me.
Exactly. They're kind of going for these more recognizable people, but like people who have this tendency to kind of sink more into their roles. Like, it took me a while.
Yes.
Like, I didn't actually realize that Miranda Richardson played Rita Skeeter.
Oh, me too, with the crazy wigs and stuff.
Exactly. So they kind of sink deeply into their characters and seem to embody them really well. Whereas, even though Sean Bean has long hair in Game of Thrones, he's still Sean Bean. You still know who it is.
He even didn't change his accent.
No!
Could you do a posh British accent? No. Okay, we'll just, I guess the Northerners talk like you now.
I mean, he can
Which
do.
is fine.
I know, it's funny.
And it worked out.
And it's funny because he can actually do a decent British accent in GoldenEye. He does one.
It's true, but he was too big by that point, I guess.
He was too big.
I ain't changing.
Alex Trevelyan just launched him.
I have a question for you and for all of you. Anybody
Okay.
out there, I want to know your answers to this. So HBO is lining up all this new content. Of the Game of Thrones prequel is just one show. So why haven't they just ordered this to series? Why are they even making them make a pilot and then decide? Because they've ordered the Watchmen show to series without a pilot.
Which was dumb.
They, no, another path. They've ordered J.J. Abrams' Demi-Monde, whatever that is, 2 series.
Less dumb.
So
Continue.
I'm just a little confused because this is like, it's Game of Thrones, man. It's like the biggest name in TV right now. But they're making it make a pilot.
Because they don't want it to be crappy. Like,
Sure.
literally, they don't want it to be crappy. I think they know what they're sitting on in terms of how much this could kind of make or break them. You know,
Okay.
not in the same way as Game of Thrones could make or break them. It's in a slightly more different kind of almost more reputational way. Like if they produce a crappy Game of Thrones sequel series, even though it's set before Game of Thrones, so just let me have this.
Good shit.
They could get lambasted, like just like murdered.
Okay.
Metaphorically
I see what you're
speaking.
saying.
Across the entire spectrum of fans and critics and media and so on. So I think it's more in the sense of we don't want to put out a crappy product when we're using our most major IP. And so they just want to make sure it's good, you guys. No.
That makes sense. And they
yeah.
don't have that risk with whatever Demi-Monde is or a Watchmen show.
Yeah.
I mean, it still seems like you would want to make a pilot anyway. Like, what if you don't want a bad show?
That's why they should have made them make a Watchmen pilot. But I digress.
We should talk about that sometime. Seem like your opinions.
I digress.
Wouldn't it be a trip if they film a pilot with Naomi Watts and Ryan Richards and all these people and they don't take it?
That would be hilarious.
That would be nuts.
That would be hilarious. And that's kind of my other point, too, is like, I'm sure the execs at HBO who are left remember that the original Game of Thrones pilot was bad.
Maybe that's a...
Like, it is something where you have to kind of play very, very carefully. Do I think that the straight to series orders for Watchmen and Demi-Monde are necessarily a great idea? I don't think they're necessarily a great idea, but I can understand why they might get a little more leeway rather than something like this.
Could also be that both those shows have like Damon Lindelof and J.J. Abrams behind them, and they can push.
Exactly.
Where the Game of Thrones thing has Jane Goldman, who, you know, is not really a huge name.
Right. She's less of a proven kind of TV.
But then again, I would think the Game of Thrones thing counts for a lot. But I like your explanation. That makes sense. And we have a question here. Lisa, can I ask how people feel about Aria getting it together with Gendry? Getting it together.
I ship it.
You ship it?
As much as I can ship to underage characters, I ship it.
I think it's charming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with it. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm into it. Go ahead, Arya and Gendry. Get together in season 8. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Move on to another topic. We had the oppressive press of Game of Thrones news was a little bit less this week. Everybody's putting their interviews out now. Like, it's like every day there's like 8 new interviews, and like, come on, space these out, people. There was a good one behind the scenes for Entertainment Weekly with Benioff's Weiss and Dave Hill, a guy who is on the writing staff. And basically they asked them about some of the pacing problems in season 7. You know, we're fans. Wow. We like to nitpick. We like to criticize. Wow. And there are some people who were critical of season 7 being like, oh, how is Euron Greyjoy going from, you know, King's Landing to Casterly Rock and back, and Jon Snow's going from Winterfell to Dragonstone to Beyond the Wall and back, which is a lot of space, I'll admit. The joke was like that they had jetpacks, they're moving all around. I just wanted to read Dave Hill's response and see if we buy it. Sometimes with moving pieces around, you're going to cheat a little bit. For season 8, we tried to keep more of the time logic rather than jetpacks. So I guess my question to you and to all of you, all got the questions, is do you care about that stuff? Like, how important is it to a show like Game of Thrones? Are you happy that apparently they're going to try and tighten it up in the final go?
Big shrug for those who are listening on our podcast.
Yeah, me too, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that they're trying to adhere more to the laws of physics this time.
Gendry running. Oh, that whole thing where Like, there are times I can if it gets really bad.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing where Gendry ran back to Eastwatch and then sent a letter to Dragonstone. The Daenerys flew from Dragonstone to there. That was a bit pushing it, but usually I'm okay.
He's magic, that's all. A wizard did it, that's all. Yeah, I think that with the extended episodes that they have, they can actually make things make slightly more sense this time around. Like, it's noticeable at points, but for the most part, it's not something that makes me go, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. Writers don't have any sense of scale, guys. Like, they don't. It's a trope on TV tropes and everything. So
is it? I'm looking at
it really is. So yeah, it's nice. I think this might be a more tightly plotted season in general, which is nice. But I don't need it to be so tightly plotted they figure out, how many days it takes to go from King's Landing to Dragonstone.
Which Martin would do. George R. R. Martin would be concerned with that.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And there are also downsides to being so exact you lose the dramatic thrust of something.
Exactly.
So there are pros and cons. Usually I don't bother by it. It has to. I can be. But it takes a lot. Like it took that whole Gendry running and the supersonic raven thing to get me a little peeved.
Yeah.
Usually I'm fine though. I don't really mind it. But yeah, sure, go ahead, make it all tight. What do you guys think? Christian can enjoy the story without worrying about the time to travel stuff. Yeah, me too, more or less.
Pretty much.
And David Harris, I hate this excuse, on a show with dragons, ice, and people with magically changing faces, laws of physics, and then he cuts off because I really find a way to read the rest of these comments. It cuts off.
Oh no!
Basically, David Harris, whoever that is saying that it's okay because the show has zombies and dragons. That I do not buy.
No.
Like the fact that there are, that you have say you have a vampire, it doesn't mean that just you can ignore the rules of how our world works. It's still our world. Like, they still use boats and they still have legs. Like, you need to keep that grounded so we believe it. The more in fact, you know what? I'll go ahead and say if you have a dragon or something, you have to pay more attention to logic because you already have one thing that's kind of out there, so you don't want to lose us.
More accurately, you either have to be very, very vague about how these things work, or
yes, with the magic stuff, yeah.
Or you have to be very detailed. There's really kind of no middle ground here as to how they work. And Martin kind of veers towards the former in that dragons are kind of soaked in myth and legend anyway. So nobody has any idea how they work. But whereas someone like a Brandon Sanderson literally puts appendices at the ends of his books. Here's how the magic works down to these are the rules that this system operates by, and you can expect them to behave mostly consistently. And so I think yes and no, basically, is my response to that. Depends on what you're doing. And Martin kind of veers toward the vaguer side of things
I like
anyway.
that, by the way, with Melisandre's stuff, too. You never quite know how she does it, but it's happening.
Shadow Baby, sure. Patrick
Rothfuss of The Name of the Wind, Kingkiller Chronicles, he's a specific person, too. And some people really dig that. I don't know. I'm just kind of whatever. Just get to, I want to see characters doing interesting things. I don't really care about, the math that goes into why you can cast your spell from 8 feet away.
Yeah, I don't. Math is boring, so.
Okay.
For me specifically, math
Hello,
is boring.
Julie.
Hi,
Good
Julie.
to see you. Okay, let me see. I gotta find a way to read these comments because Jen says, what baffles my mind is the Seps in Old Town didn't pay Sam no mind at all when he said he saw the blank. Can you do it?
I'm gonna try. Yeah, you
hit where it says more? We're gonna troubleshoot.
We're doing technology, guys. We're trying.
We're going to try to be the Geek Squad here live on camera. What a great use of our time.
I do see someone asking, does the White Walker army split before they reach Winterfell?
Oh, that's
from
a nice
Christian
idea.
Hannah. And I think he says the Night King takes his ice dragon south, and then we're trying, guys. We're really trying. Oh, okay. Jen was Jen was like, the Seps in Old Town didn't pay Sam no mind at all when he said he saw the whites.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes, that makes sense.
Oh, no, that makes perfect sense. The thing, too, because their whole thing is they are detached academics who are more concerned with getting their theses published than human extinction.
Yes.
That was a commentary on ivory towers.
Yes. It was all a metaphor, guys. So the Night King takes his ice dragon south. I'm guessing, Christian, to attack King's Landing.
Totally. That's a fun idea. Splitting them up. I can see that happening.
And then going with the others going to Winterfell. Okay, yes. So
Great.
we're trying, guys. We're going to figure this out eventually.
You want to keep it? You can ask this question if you want.
I
Why
can
not?
keep it. Okay. Whoa.
All right.
Live magic, you guys.
If you have anything you want to read it out.
Okay.
Okay. Move on to HBO's latest super cool marketing technique. So they had Bleed for the Throne, where you gave blood for Game of Thrones. They had Create for the Throne, where they kind of gave artists, they kind of found artists and told them, make a prop that's from Game of Thrones and put your spin on it. Mm-hmm. Now they have Quest for the Throne. Ooh. HBO has hidden 6 Iron Thrones around our planet Earth. And is challenged to find them. There is one, this is the new one today that they put up. Where is that? I don't know. But if you can find that, the HBO gives you a crown. Cheryl, does that look like anywhere you know? Like maybe, is that near Boston?
It kind of looks like Chicago was this winter. No, I'm going to guess it's somewhere like in Sweden.
Or Iceland or something.
Yeah. Sure. So I'm going to go with Sweden. It came to my mind, and so it's in Sweden.
But yeah, dear readers, that Iron Throne is out there right now somewhere on the planet Earth. Maybe it's in Antarctica. If you find it, HBO gives you a crown. And we all want a crown.
Absolutely.
I'd like some money too. But it's a fun idea. it's a cool idea. Mm-hmm. I will say, yesterday they had one like a wood. Fans found it in a day.
That's bonkers.
I mean, is it like these days, all the technology and how passionate resourceful fans are? Frankly, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it is bonkers. I can see. All right, so Jen is like, I have an issue with that because some of us can't go and look for it. Me too. I'm too broke to travel these days.
And even if you would, I mean,
yeah.
Where would you start? I don't recognize anything from that. Right? Like, that's at the corner of 58th and the Tundra.
I feel like the only way to, it's like that map challenge where you go to like a random place on the map and you have to find your way to the nearest airport on Google Earth. Like you just enter in random coordinates. But this time with crowns involved, which is pretty good.
It raises the stakes a lot.
It does. I like that they're going so weird finally with this.
Yeah,
like
why not?
They've pulled out all the ideas and I'm into it.
Yeah, me too. I like it too. Any comments about it?
All right. Yes. Yeah.
Well,
no.
Was the 1%
Ismail mentions he thinks it's Antarctica, which
probably some penguins gonna stumble on it.
Yeah. Christian is talking about how he didn't see much in the way of a dragon attack during the Winterfell battle, which we could get into that one, but we won't because it's really, really big spoilers. And David Harris has made the joke, where in the world is Carmen Iron Throne Diego?
You're on fire today, David Harris.
Oh, boy. Gonna be getting some letters for that pun, David.
All right. Finally, as long as we're in the far north there, I hope one of you finds it, by the way, and claims your crown. If anybody knows where that is or has any idea, recognizes a mountain, let us know. You really know.
And show us the picture of you in the crown.
Oh, totally. Or just a picture of you with the throne. Or sitting on it. Whatever. You can do what you want.
But both.
Both. Why not both?
Yeah.
Let's go beyond the wall for a second. Discuss some non-Game of Thrones news. They're actually still kind of pretty related.
Yeah.
So there's a hot rumor going around the internet, first reported at
Star Wars Newsnet.
Star Wars Newsnet. Is that a reliable source, do you know? Because
Yes.
you're a Star Wars person. You're
Yes.
in Star Wars.
Yes.
Okay, so they're reliable? That's good.
Yes.
Okay. The rumor is that Game of Thrones creators and showrunners, David Benioff and Dan Weiss, the two biggest creative forces behind the show together with George R.R. Martin, we know that after Game of Thrones is over, after it's done, they're going to go after their next big challenge, which is making a new Star Wars trilogy. We can debate whether that's a good idea or not, but now that it's happening, there's a rumor about what it's going to be about.
Yes.
Apparently, it's going to be set in the days of the Old Republic. Now, Cheryl, you're a Star Wars fan.
Allegedly.
Can you explain to us briefly what the Old Republic is?
David Harris is like, please tell him that Revan is just as popular as Luke Skywalker.
We were having a thing earlier today.
And it's, no, David.
Yeah, no, David.
Okay, so technically speaking, the Old Republic can refer to two things. And the report from Star Wars Newsnet is making it sound like it's actually the Galactic Republic that we know just earlier. So the report from Star Wars Newsnet's a source, and they were very careful to note that this is from one source right now.
Right, unverified.
But it's one source that has been
Journalistic.
pretty reliable
Okay.
in the past. And basically, the kind of log line that Star Wars Newsnet got was basically that it's set a few hundred years before the Skywalkers kind of show up on the scene and mess everything up with their galactic-sized drama. So that could mean that there's not really going to be many Sith involved.
Okay.
But if it's the Old Republic that he's usually referred to as
like the real Old Republic.
the real Old Republic, then it could be like the Sith Empire could be involved. And because the source mentioned that they wanted something that could appeal to Game of Thrones fans, I am very curious to see if it is actually the Jedi Order versus the Sith Empire.
Which would you rather see?
Probably the Jedi Order versus the Sith Empire, because the Sith Empire is super cool.
Okay. Follow-up question. Do you think that's a good idea to have a new trilogy series? And, like, irrespective of whether you think there should be a new trilogy at all. Because, I mean, like, maybe you don't.
He's keeping me on topic, guys.
I'm doing my best. Do you think that's a good choice for a new movie trilogy, the Old Republic?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Because I think not that Star Wars is necessarily exhausted. It's the kind of the current eras, the eras that we deal with most frequently. But that, you know, it can get a little stale, I guess. In the sense that, I mean, look at
Solo viewers would probably agree with you.
I'm one of them, and I do agree with me. So I think it could be interesting to kind of use the Star Wars name and the cachet that Benioff and Weiss bring to it and do something a little weird, get a little funky. You know, reintegrate some of the Legends canon into that, which is a whole nother topic that we're not talking about today. But kind of basically like experiment with what Star Wars can actually produce. Like, this is Star Wars. I think the joke goes that there's a backstory for everything. And Razor is mentioning that the Old Republic has been an era Star Wars fans have wanted forever. Yes.
Of course he has.
It's been covered in games.
I know it has.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Popular ones, too.
Yes.
Beloved ones.
Indeed, very beloved ones. So I think it would be a really good choice. And David, I just want to point out that I am actually a Star Wars fan too. So just saying, buddy. And I do actually want the Old Republic. So yeah, I think that because the information is kind of conflicting right now as to which Old Republic we're actually talking about. Because what we kind of refer to as the Galactic Republic, you know, the one that the younger Skywalkers exist in, or the older Skywalkers rather, has been actually referred to canonically as the Old Republic as well. So
okay. Gotcha.
And so it's a little conflicting as to which Old Republic. But the general feel is that it's probably the more common Old Republic.
Sure.
So, yes.
I'm glad you're here. That would have gone on in my head.
Yeah,
and I agree
it's complicated, like Lord of the Rings.
And I agree with you. Like, I am kind of Star Wars'd out, but if you have to do one, yeah, get weird with it. Go somewhere totally different.
Get funky.
Totally.
Get funky. But other than that, I think Benioff and Weiss can do an okay job. I just wish it wasn't Benioff and Weiss making an Old Republic movie. But that is for another day. I believe we have returned from our journey beyond the wall.
Okay. I want to follow up. You're probably right. No, it's fine. We should probably move on.
We probably
Does
should.
Anybody besides David have anything to say about that?
No, actually. A lot of people are just kind of... Kenny Adamo. Hi, Kenny.
Hey, Kenny.
Does say, always love listening to you and the Corys and Isis. Hopefully I will see you guys at the con in Nashville.
It's true.
So that will be very exciting. But yeah, I'm going to Star Wars Celebration in April, so that about sums up my priorities.
Well, thank you for joining us, Cheryl. It's been delightful as always. And before we bring on Josh Hill for A Song of Dan and Josh in a minute, stay tuned.
Oh, Ned Stark, will you ever learn? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'm Dan Selke, the editor at winteriscoming.net, your one-stop shop for all things Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, and genre fiction in general. We here at Wick love bringing you news, reviews, and editorial content, and we're going to keep doing all that stuff. However, for the especially hardcore among you, we're going to start offering even more. Welcome to the Wit Club. The Wit Club is a Patreon-funded effort to provide fantasy and sci-fi fans with even more Wit content. You can join at several levels. For $1 a month, you can enter into monthly swag giveaways and get to read extra columns. At $4, you'll get to watch extra episodes of Take the Black Live, our weekly chat show, with topics chosen by you. Please be gentle. And at the Valyrian Steel level, that's $10 a month, you get Wit Club t-shirts and access to a new segment we're calling Drinking and Knowing Things, a monthly live stream where I drink wine and talk with all of you in a free-flowing conversation about Game of Thrones, fantasy, sci-fi, and whatever else comes up after I've had a few. Just to be clear, we're not going to stop doing anything on Wik we already do, and we're hoping to add more stuff anyway. The Wit Club is a way to produce even more content, and hopefully to get to know some of you better. You can find links to more information below. We hope to see you in the Wit Clubhouse. Valor Morgulis, bottoms up, and thanks for watching.
Everybody, welcome back. I'm here with Josh Hill of fansided.com.
Hello, everybody.
He says hello. And we are here for A Song of Dan and Josh.
Yes.
The show where myself, who has read the Song of Ice and Fire books multiple times, and Josh, who has never read them but seen the Game of Thrones television program on HBO.
I've seen the program.
You've seen the program. It's a good program. Walk through each and every chapter of George R. Martin's unfinished magnum opus.
Yes.
And just break it down. What makes him tick, what makes him good, what makes him bad. And today we are reading, or discussing rather, Aria 3 from the Clash of Kings.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Josh.
You're really into this
What,
one.
if anything? Actually, okay, so just my initial reaction is, this is a short chapter.
Yes.
And just honestly, my first reaction, like, it's less eventful than usual.
Well, yeah, we kind of had been set up for a bunch of nothing happening. Because we talked about it in the last couple of weeks, where we kind of get this table setting.
Yeah,
chapter.
we're still in that
This was
mode.
a chapter that I don't know why it exists.
Okay, that's my main question. Let's see if we can't find it. Because, I mean,
I know why it exists. Okay, it's not a bad chapter.
Yeah. I don't want to say there's no reason for it. I'm sure there's a reason for it existing. But just in terms of nothing happens. Okay, what happened? Arya and her group are still going north.
Yes.
They see some stuff along the way.
What war has been doing
Yes.
to
Thematically,
Westeros.
it's important, I'm sure.
Yes.
At the end, she goes to go to the bathroom apart from the camp. They can't see her. She's trying to fake she's a boy. Has a close encounter with, I think, Nymeria, or one of her pack, her wolves. Goes back, and she was scared, and then it kind of ends. So it's definitely not a Littlefinger pushes Lysa out the moon door kind of chapter. It's not a Cersei blows up the sept sort of eventful thing.
No.
Not a lot technically happens, but let's try to dig into what we get and see what we can draw out of it.
Let's do it.
And Julie Davies says, "How come Razor isn't a top fan?" I don't know. They're all like labeled in the comments like top fan, top fan, top fan. Julie's top fan, Jen's top fan, Terry's a top fan. They say hi, Josh. By the way,
Oh, hi
Terry
everybody.
does.
Is it because Razor writes for the site?
I don't know. He probably
Is he
should be a top
disqualified? Is he
fan.
ineligible to be a top fan? Isn't he by definition a top fan if he's writing for a Game of Thrones fan site? Like,
I don't know how it works.
I feel like that's defines his fandom.
Oh, and it's tuning every week. David, why are you tuning every week?
Come on, David, tune in every week, man. All right, I rescind everything I just said. You write for the site and you don't tune in every week, Razor? Come
And
on.
hello, Ariana from Massachusetts. We're in Chicago.
Oh, hello.
And really quick question. Diane asked, Dan, did you notice that HBO changed the runtime of episode 803 to 82 minutes? I did, Diane. Longest episode of Game of Thrones history, going to be in season 8, third episode.
Oh.
Good one. It's going to be a movie length.
Very
the
cool.
length of a short movie, like Toy Story.
Very cool.
Okay. Anyway,
Short
Arya
like
3.
this chapter.
Short like this chapter. Yes.
Did
short
not
movie.
take me 83 minutes to read.
No. Okay, so as far as I can tell, like the point of this is kind of you alluded to it.
Yeah.
Is to give there's war happening, War of the Five Kings, ravishing the countryside. Martin wants to give us a taste of what that means from a ground's eye view,
Yeah.
and and Arya's great for that because, Jon's at the wall. Has his perspective. People in King's Landing, no one's like in the streets at Sansa or Tyrion, or like they're not going to see the up close and personal what's happening to people.
Yeah.
Daenerys is off the way. So Arya is our viewpoint. She's our man on the street. She's our person on the ground.
Billy on the street.
Billy on the street.
There you
She
go.
just yells at people, at Westerosi peasants, and just asks them questions, and she just leaves if they don't give her answer she likes. So the road was, I did enjoy the first line. The road was little more than 2 ruts through the weeds. What did I set up there? Because this is about off-roading. We are not in a fancy,
No.
we're not in the King's Road. We're not in some gilded cage where Cersei and Sansa are hanging out, sipping wine. The road was little more than 2 ruts through the weeds. We're in the backwoods
We're in
here.
backwoods of Westeros.
This is Westerosi deliverance. We're just like going places not supposed to go.
Yeah.
We're just taking the back roads. Farmland gave way to forest. The villages and holdfasts were smaller and further apart. The hills higher and the valleys deeper.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going far afield. We're seeing the real Westeros, the rural
real
areas,
Westeros.
the farms, the people, and they're not having a good time of it, Josh.
No, they're not. I believe a woman was missing an arm. And
Yes.
I don't think she lasted much longer after that. So I would define that as not having a good time. Yeah, this is like this chapter was basically the joke in Clerks when Randall was talking about the people of the Death Star, the contractors who were working on the uncompleted Death Star, and they were, killed for no reason because they were just caught in the middle of this galactic civil war. And that's kind of what it is. I mean, it boiled down, that's goofy, but boiled down, that's what we need to see because we're so caught up in the drama of the throne. We're so caught up with Ned and we're caught up with the Starks and the Lannisters and what's going on with Daenerys that we're forgetting that there are real consequences
Yeah.
happening here. There's real people affected by all these things. It's not just this glossy, high-level political drama that we're concerned with. There's real suffering going on because of what is happening. It's not all fun and games. Although I don't know if I would define somebody getting decapitated as fun and games, but
There's really no funny games anywhere. But I thought you were going to say the joke from Clerks 2, where Randall describes Lord of the Rings movies as just walking back and forth.
well, there's
over and
also
over.
that too.
Okay. But yeah, so she's here, and she is, again, par for the course for Arya, seeing things that she really shouldn't see as a child of 8 or 9, whatever she is. Arya saw burnt bodies impaled on sharpened stakes atop the walls, their hands drawn up tight in front of their faces as if to fight off the flames that had consumed them. Like, they come upon this.
graphic.
It's graphic. And
Yeah.
again, she's like 8. She's very young, and she's seen this stuff. It's got to be traumatizing. But again, not because Arya's all about seeing death up close and then internalizing and kind of becoming death later in the show or the
Yeah.
story.
But this is kind of part of her journey.
Oh, totally.
We're seeing her become this person that she ends up being because she sees these horrific things.
Yeah, I mean, Arya's someone who can kill a whole room full of people by poisoning them. You think you can do that if you're not like comfortable with seeing this kind of thing?
Unless you've seen some things.
Like she gets used
She's
to
growing
this.
up real fast this summer. She's learning a lot. She is learning a lot.
I mean, it's weird because the chapter is sort of like Arya's trip up
little
north.
road trip to the
Yeah, it's a road
backwoods
trip,
to
but
watch
it's
charred
an
bodies and-
apocalyptic road
yeah.
trip. I enjoyed that passage. The way the night they see like the fire on the horizon, and the next day they come upon this burned village that was obviously the village burning.
Yeah.
And they see all that horrible stuff. There's a bit about like a woman who has no arm and is just completely out of it, like an older woman who can't. Who
Saving
just like
Private Ryan style.
she has a line she keeps repeating over and over. It's very Saving Private Ryan, very post-traumatic Vietnam vet kind of stuff. And again, it's just seen through the eyes of a little girl. It's distressing.
Yeah.
I also liked how Hot Pie came around, and he admitted that
Hot pie.
I never truly kicked no boy to death because we're seeing actual horrible cruelty. So it puts the stuff of like Hot Pie boasting about doing something that he never did, like being a bully into perspective. And he turns into a little kid, which he is.
Yeah, it really seeing the stuff that they saw would humble somebody really quickly, and that's clearly what it did. And I think that it's not a chapter that's going to stick out in a power rankings of chapters where you're like, this was a top one that I'm going to remember, but it was very carefully crafted. Like you could
It
tell
always
what
is,
George
yeah.
R. R. Martin was doing, and it was very small, very short, and it didn't it didn't move the story itself along that we've been following so far this book, but it develops Arya's character a little bit more because it's going to explain later, like you said, you don't poison a room full of people and not really think twice
Or
about
cut a
it.
guy's throat, or stab a
Yeah.
guy's eyes out that one time.
Feed him his kids in pies. Like, you don't do that unless you've seen some things. It's kind of advancing her character while
Yeah,
not
I
really
agree.
advancing the story. So I didn't have a big problem with it.
Honest to God, I don't have much more on this. It
No.
was really short. Some vocabulary. It's always
Yes.
fun. If anybody has any questions about this chapter, Arya 3, we can talk about it. It was very short. It was
was
good.
short.
It was nice, but
Yeah.
it didn't really have a lot going on. Palisade is a wall made from iron or wooden stakes. So just, like, you can picture it, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of, like, sticks put in a wall. That's your wall. Like a village would have it.
Ah, yes.
The word holdfast. He uses it a lot, Martin. It is not a word. I've tried to look this up.
Well, you're telling me
What-
George R. R. Martin made up a word? I'm shocked.
I know, shocker. He's what it seems to mean is like a smaller, like a fortified structure, like a little castle.
Okay.
Like, every town has a holdfast, which means like every town has a,
a
I don't know,
panic
like a stone, yeah,
Yeah.
like a town panic room, like a stone little castle, like Magor's holdfast in the Red Keep, like in King's Landing. That's a big old holdfast. It's powerful. I mean, honest to God, like he says it a lot. I tried to look it up and like this is a freaking fake word, but that's what he means. Little castle, fortified area, gotta have it. And finally, sour leaf, another made up thing. It's chewing tobacco.
Sour leaf.
That's in Westeros, but it turns your teeth red.
Ah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Who would
mean,
make that?
Folk love chew. I mean, they don't love it so much anymore.
Yeah, but to make your
chewing
teeth
tobacco's
red.
a thing.
Like that almost makes it feel like it's like a selling point to make your teeth red.
I don't think so. I just think it's you got to have that sweet nicotine sour leaf hit,
The guy
and you
needs some
roll it
sour
around.
leaf.
You ever met anybody who does chaw? I have. It's gross.
I mean,
Chew.
a few people, yeah. No sour leaf in my life though.
I'm pretty sure sour leaf is fake.
I don't know. George R. R. Martin's written it down. It's got to be real.
So yeah, that's mostly what I got. Nice chapter. She
Yeah.
meets Nymeria or someone from her pack, but doesn't really do anything with it. It ends with like her asking Yoren, like, "Am I afraid?" "Yeah, you're afraid." Okay, chapter ended. So, have you ever thoughts on it?
No, that's it.
All right,
Short and sweet.
we back next week with Davos,
Davos
1.
one.
Our first Davos Seaworth chapter. Looking forward to that.
All right, into it.
Yeah, exactly. Back here at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time at the Winners Coming Out Net Facebook page. Thanks for being here, Josh. Thanks
you.
for watching, everybody. We will see you next week. Julie says red teeth, yum.
Yes, red teeth.
Red teeth.